Coming up on today's Locked On Angels, one of the top free agent starters is off of the board, and the Angels did not get him. Eduardo Rodriguez signs with the Tigers. We're going to break it all down from the Angels' perspective and see what's next. What are the Angels going to do after this move? That's all coming up right now on Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Locked On Angels, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day every single day, especially here in the offseason. I'm Steve Granado, your host. You can shoot me a follow over on Twitter at Steve Granado. That's Granado. As mentioned in today's show, we are going to break down what's going on here free agent-wise and see what the next move is. In case you missed the news happening early on Monday morning, the Detroit Tigers end up signing Eduardo Rodriguez, left-hander starter from the Boston Red Sox. He declined his qualifying offer on Sunday night, and then on Monday, we wake up to the news here on the West Coast that he is now a Detroit Tiger. Let's go ahead and jump on over to Scott Bentley of the Locked On Tigers podcast to hear more about this free agent signing.
Welcome to the Motor City, Eduardo Rodriguez. E-Rod, Big Ed, whatever you call him, he's coming, baby, to the Detroit Tigers on a 5-year, $80 million deal. That's $16 million AAV. There's some incentives sprinkled in there. There's also an opt-out after year 2. I am so happy. It's hard for me to contain my excitement with signing Eduardo Rodriguez. Has the potential to be an unbelievable value signing. You look at his ERA in 2021. You go, okay, he had a 4.8 ERA. Why is everyone so excited? His career low in FIP was also 2021 at like 3.3. His FIP has comfortably been lower than his ERA for most years of his career. He received Cy Young votes in 2019 with a 6th place finish. His K numbers have always been good. You're taking a guy with low FIP numbers out of the AL East and putting him in the current AL Central and in Comerica Park. Tell me you ain't excited. Try and convince me. Try and tell me why I shouldn't be thrilled with this. You won't. This is an unbelievable signing. This is so exciting. What a great way to get ahead of the curve, start off the early parts of the offseason, get in there before whatever is going to happen with the CBA. You have locked up a big need going into next season. This now 28 and next year his age 29 season. Lefty Eduardo Rodriguez is being added to a rotation that's going to have Mize, Manning, Skubal. You're going to tell me that you're looking at a rotation with Mize, Manning, Skubal, E-Rod, and that doesn't make your stomach tingle? That doesn't get you a little amped? If you're a Tigers fan, it absolutely does. Welcome to Detroit, E-Rod. We will have a full breakdown of this signing and him as a player on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Tigers. Go Tigers, baby.
That again was Scott Bentley of Locked On Tigers breaking things down. Those were his initial reactions. If you want more on that, of course, go check out the Locked On Tigers podcast. But yeah, this is the first big one. Obviously, Andrew Heaney, former Halo, former Yankee, ends up signing with the Dodgers a couple days ago for that 1-year offer. But this is the first real big number one signing. Essentially, this is the one that kicks off the offseason. It feels like, and it kind of came quickly, right? Like I mentioned, he declines his qualifying offer late on Sunday night. I saw that, went, oh, okay, interesting. And then I woke up on Monday morning, went, whoa, okay, so he is a Detroit Tiger. That happened rather quick. So that's kind of interesting. Things are trending in the right direction for the Tigers right now. They are making some moves. They have drafted well over the last couple of years and have some arms that are coming up here and have made their debuts, a couple of them. And there are some guys right now for that Tigers rotation that is really, really looking good. Their young arms look really good. They're super promising. And now they can add Eduardo Rodriguez, who is also still young. He has an option to get out of that too after a couple of years. So pretty interesting that the Tigers are the one that ended up landing Eduardo Rodriguez. I mean, a guy that I hadn't thought much of just yet, just because he still had that qualifying offer on the table. There's still a handful of guys. And by the way, everyone everyone has until Wednesday this week to accept or at least make a decision on those qualifying offers all throughout Major League Baseball. That includes, of course, Raisel Iglesias. This is coming from John Morosi of MLB Network and MLB.com. This is what he had to say about it. Sources: the Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Angels were all involved in the Eduardo Rodriguez market over the last week. So look for those clubs to pivot and pursue other rotation options. We knew that going in. There was a little bit of an article on MLB.com from Rhett Bollinger a couple of days ago, mid last week, that mentioned that the Angels were interested in Eduardo Rodriguez. And we kind of touched on it a little bit on our Monday episode, on our Monday mailbag, which, by the way, you can always send in questions for our Monday mailbag. But yeah, the pivot, we're going to talk about that here in just a second. But this is what I want to start with before we get to the pivot and what the Angels might do next. Don't panic. This is not a panic situation. This is not the moment to go, it's over. The Angels aren't going to sign anybody. I don't think that you can be thinking in that scope just yet. Yes, Eduardo Rodriguez, again, is trending correctly and kind of resurged a little bit here this year. Some of the numbers really dictated that he was going to be a little bit better moving forward. But again, this is not a panic button. I woke up, I read the news, and I went, oh, well, all right, good for the Tigers. Cool for them, man. They're not looking to truly compete in the Central next year, at least one would imagine. I think they're maybe 2 years away, 3 years away from really, really competing for a good window. We talk about that window a lot. We just talked about it as well last week about the competitive window. And that's what the Angels are searching for right now. So that's what the Tigers are doing over in the Motor City. So good for the Tigers. They landed Eduardo Rodriguez, man. Good for them. Again, this is not a panic button situation, but we're going to talk about it in just a second about what the Angels are going to probably do forward and some of the targets they might be looking at. This episode of Locked On Angels is brought to you by BetOnline, and they are back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Go Lakers. Go bet on the Lakers. Head to our new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code. It's nice and special for you and super easy. Locked On to receive that 50% welcome bonus. From basketball, football, NHL, boxing, UFC, Vegas casino games, and even when baseball comes right back around here this spring, don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts. Back here on Locked On Angels, Steve Granado, your first listen of the day. Glad you're with us here on this Tuesday as this episode drops. And of course, whenever you're listening to it, you can always listen back to these whenever you want. So let's kind of break down a little bit more here of this Eduardo Rodriguez situation. This is coming from that aforementioned Rhett Bollinger article from a couple of days ago. This was last week. I think this was on Tuesday. He was speaking with Perry Manassian, Angels GM, and this was before the Eduardo Rodriguez signing. He says, this is from Manassian, I wouldn't rule out anything. Obviously, it depends on the marketplace and what's available, and we're continuing to gather information in that sense. But I wouldn't rule out a trade or free agency. There's different avenues to acquiring pitching. So we kind of talked about that a little bit last week. We talked about in the Max Scherzer episode. We talked about that on Monday's episode. Of course, you can always scroll back if you're on the audio feed. If you're on our YouTube side, just click an episode back. But here's what I have to say about this. We again touched on this, but the Angels are going to explore multiple options. I mentioned that on Monday. They have a plan A. They have a plan B. They have a plan C, D, E, F, all the way down, right? That's how you have to operate. What really throws a wrench into this whole system, obviously, as we've touched on, is the CBA coming up here on December the 1st. So we are still kind of seeing how that's playing. That's kind of why I was a little bit shocked to see Eduardo Rodriguez signing on Monday, because I was like, I thought a lot of guys were going to be waiting to see what the scope of labor looks like here coming up in 2022 and beyond. So I was a little surprised, a little taken by surprise by that, but still nonetheless, it's not a panic situation. But yeah, so you need to keep your mind open in this free agency process for the Angels and what the trade process is. You got to remember too that they don't have a ton of trade chips. And they haven't had a ton of trade chips for years, and that's why the Angels have typically gone to the Rule 5 situation or, waiver claims, things like that to try and fill some of the gaps at some of the positions, like most notably, when they're picking up like a middle infielder or when they're trying to get relief pitching or just kind of some fill-in guys. Those are more the Rule 5s and your waiver claims, right? So things that they can do without having to give anything up. Recently, if you follow like MILB transactions or anything like that, any sort of Twitter accounts like that, you're seeing tons of free agents coming out right now, right? The minor league free agents. So you might start looking to that. The Angels might start making some moves in that regard and signing some minor league free agents here in the coming days, coming weeks and months, because there's some guys out there that just ran out of time in their organization or are looking for a new home. And you can really find some guys in those areas. And I think the Angels are definitely going to go towards that. This is still in that Rhett Bollinger article. Had mentioned that Robbie Ray and Eduardo Rodriguez, according to John Paul Morosi, and Justin Verlander were on the Angels' radar. As far as Verlander is concerned, I think you might tread a little lighter on that situation. Obviously, the Angels sent their scouts to that. I think there's something like 20 teams were out there for that showcase not too long ago. So I wouldn't put too much stock into that one. I mean, I'm pretty sure the Angels were also out when Tim Tebow worked out at Dado Field in USC. So yeah, you send scouts to a lot of things. It's why you have scouts. But yes, the Angels were in attendance for that Justin Verlander workout. But there are some other free agents that we've talked about a couple of them. Obviously, we did a whole episode on Max Scherzer. We did a whole episode on Marcus Stroman, and we'll be continuing that series. I want you to let me know which free agents you want me to cover first that you are interested in. So make sure to leave that in the comment section down below, or of course on our Twitter account at Locked On Angels. Speaking of Marcus Stroman, by the way, this is kind of a dumb thing, but this is where we're at. It's the offseason. But he tweeted this is so dumb to talk about now that I'm saying it out loud. He tweeted a devil emoji, and then at Halos Jam on Twitter said, "What's the opposite of a devil? Marcus giving us a sign to be an angel." He's joking. He's obviously joking. And then Marcus Stroman, as we've talked about and documented, he's been engaging with the Angels fan base and engaging with all fan bases. He says, "LMAO, y'all are crazy with all these predictions. It's assumption daily. Everything is a rumor until it's fact. Don't believe any of these stories from quote sources ever. Just because they have a blue check mark doesn't mean anything." And this is why I wanted to bring this up. He says, "I'm going to break the story on where I'm going to." So that was interesting to me. He's going to be the one that, or at least in theory, unless it leaks or something, that he wants to be the one that lets everyone know. So I got to imagine that means Twitter. So if you're an Angels fan and you want Marcus Stroman, like we have detailed out in our Marcus Stroman episode, again, I will leave that in the episode description. That's in the Hot Stove playlist. You can always go check that out here on our YouTube channel. But that's kind of interesting that he wants to be in charge of what's going on in his free agency. And that's cool. And that's very beat of his own drum. That's very Marcus Stroman. So again, we have belabored the Stroman thing. I don't think there's much else I need to say about it. We will see where he lands. I think it would be a great fit in Anaheim. I don't think it's the only answer at this point. There are still plenty of free agents and plenty of trades that could be made. Luis Castillo is still available. The Angels obviously would explore that. They'd have to probably give up Adell or Marsh for that, if not both. But there are some more options. Eduardo Rodriguez is obviously not the only thing out there. And the Angels do have some other opportunities. And don't forget, Raiso Iglesias still needs to make up his mind. That's coming up by Wednesday. We're recording this on Monday afternoon. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. He has to make up his mind by Wednesday, November the 17th. So there are some things up in the air. We will talk about Raiso and what his decision ultimately is and where that all lands. But of course, there are still plenty of moves to be made, and this offseason is only getting started. All right, back here on Locked On Angels, final segment of the day. And I wanted to kind of step back a little bit and not really talk about Angels baseball too much right here. Stick with me. I wanted to talk about this podcast a little bit. Over the last couple of weeks, we have gotten some pretty good news. In case you missed it over on our Twitter account, for 3 weeks running now, we have been in the top 10 of Locked On Baseball podcasts. And I just wanted to step aside and say thank you to everybody. We have been, I've been on this show now since September the 28th. That was my first episode. So it's been just shy of 50 days as you're watching this the day it comes out, 49 days since I took over as Locked On Angels. And for us to propel all the way up to now number 9 most popular Locked On Baseball podcast, I just really wanted to say thank you guys. And I kind of wanted to use this as like a kind of a performance review situation, kind of funny enough. By the way, the team that is ahead of us now is Locked On White Sox. So no shade to the White Sox, but hey, why don't you guys go ahead and keep making the show a little more popular and give them a little sticking point for 2005 and AJ Brzezinski. All right, let's go ahead and have some fun. Let's start and poke some fun. Let's leapfrog over the Locked On White Sox by next week. That's the goal. So how are we going to do that? Pull out your phone right now. This is what I want you to do. I want you to pull out your phone and text your Angels fan friend. A friend that you have maybe from high school or from college or somebody you work with, and go, hey, dude, there's this show called Locked On Angels. I don't know if you've watched it. This guy, Steve, he's kind of weird, but he's kind of cool at the same time, and it's a good show. You should check it out. Just check out an episode or two. He puts it out every day, 5 days a week, whatever. That's what I want you to do. Text your friend and tell them about the show. Whoever that is, figure it out. But that, yeah, let's jump up over the White Sox. But let's go ahead and use this time here just briefly, guys. I'm not going to make you sit here all day long. But these are some of the things that, in case you have recently joined or have kind of been away from the show and maybe you're taking some time off from the baseball season and you need to decompress or whatever, here's some of the things that we have done already that I think were really cool and had some pretty good reception. We started right at the end of the season, and we kind of jumped right into our grading series. Our grading series, we talked about every single aspect and gave out letter grades of Angels baseball, how they did in 2021. I think that was super successful, and everybody had a pretty good time with that. Then we compared the Ducks and Angels. I went to Ducks opening night and have been to a couple of games since and have had a pretty good time, and obviously the Ducks are doing really good right now, which is kind of a shocker and a surprise, but it's been a whole bunch of fun to watch the Ducks play right now if you're a hockey fan. But yeah, we compared the Ducks and the Angels. We talked about what do the Angels need to do to create the atmosphere that the Ducks have and create the culture. We talk about creating the culture all the time here, right? So on our 50-day let's go ahead and see how that's doing. We also did the Angels food guide, Angel Stadium food guide. We did the pregame and we did the postgame. If you missed that, that's something you can totally bookmark here on our YouTube channel and go ham. Once you get out to Angel Stadium here in Anaheim, we had tons of food recommendations that we threw your way. Things from pizza to ramen, ice cream, sweet treats, all that stuff. Good burgers, things like that. So that was a whole bunch of fun. We did the food guide. And then I think one of the funnest ones that we've done, and the one personally for me, was the greatest game in Angels history. If you missed that episode, that's totally a great one to go back and re-listen to. We did it on the 19-year anniversary of Game 6 of the 2002 World Series. We did a whole oral history. We went back and listened to the original Rory Marcus call of that game, and it was a whole bunch of fun, and I know people really enjoyed it. If you missed that episode, I highly, highly recommend going back and listening to it, especially if you're missing baseball right now. And then we've been starting this Making the Case series. The Making the Case series has been super fun, and I know that you guys are super passionate about that kind of thing, really talking about free agency. So that's what we've been doing. We're doing Making the Case. We covered Marcus Stroman. We covered Max Scherzer, and we have plans to continue to do that throughout the offseason and, of course, throughout this week. So this is where I wanted to ask all you folks, all the listeners and watchers of Locked On Angels, what do you want out of this show? My goal, ever since taking over, and I said it in the very first episode on September the 28th, nearly 50 days ago, my goal has always been to better the Angels community, and I want to keep doing that. I want to continue to create the culture, right? We've talked about that time and time again, and that's why we've done episodes like we've done in the past, talking about this area, talking about history, and talking about everything that has to do Angels baseball that is outside of the field. And this is where I really want to ask you guys, is like, what do you want out of this? What is Angels baseball? I know that's kind of like broad scope and pie in the sky, but what is it? What is it about this team that has drawn you in? And I want you to let me know in the comment section here on YouTube, and of course on our audio side, you can always send me a tweet at Locked On Angels or at Steve Granado. But what do you want here in the future? Do you like the Making the Case series? Like, the only way this show continues to grow and continues to get better is with your input. And that's what I really want to hammer home here, is just make sure to let me know. I want to make sure that we are creating a show that's fun for you, interesting for you, and informative for you. And just continue to create Angels culture. That's goal number one for me. I will always try to inform you guys when I can and give you my honest opinion. But ultimately, my main goal is creating the culture around Angels baseball. And that's been goal number one from day one. And I think we've done a pretty good job, and I want to continue to do that. So let me know, what do you want out of the show? Give us ideas for future episodes. We're still 5 days a week at this point into December. So make sure to let me know. You can hit me up on Twitter at Locked On Angels or at Steve Granado. Or, of course, you can always give me a phone call. That's 714-409-6396, 714-409-6396. Give me a call about anything, anytime, anywhere. You can always call that number and leave me a voicemail, and you can be on a future episode. If you like this show and you like me, I have other podcasts you can check out. My baseball podcast, an 8-part docuseries called Our Game. That's OURGAME. We asked the question, who is the Latino Jackie Robinson, and found out that the answer was extremely complicated. We covered 200 years of baseball history. You should go check it out. It has Victor Rojas. It has Fabian Ardai. It has Maria Torres. It has a Yale professor on it. It has a Locked On Dodgers host, Vincent Samperio. We have a bunch of great guests on that show. And it was a whole bunch of fun to make. So if you're looking to learn something here in the offseason, go check out Our Game. Of course, if you want to decompress and not even think about baseball whatsoever, you can go check out my other podcast called Movies I Should Have Watched. It's a podcast where my best friend Alex and I are watching all the old movies we were supposed to watch a really long time ago, but we missed over the years. And we're finally doing it. We're finally watching them. Movies like Ghostbusters, The Ring. We'll be covering some Christmas movies coming up. The Matrix. All those types of movies we just missed over the years. We're watching and reviewing them and seeing if they hold up in 2021. Whole bunch of fun. Again, that's Movies I Should Have Watched on audio podcast platforms everywhere. I want to thank you for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. For your second listen, go check out Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. All right, guys, that's going to do it in today's Locked On Angels. Thanks for checking us out. We will continue the Making the Case series throughout the week and next week. And don't forget, on Wednesday, Reisel's got to make his decision. Thursday, Shohei might win MVP. All right, we'll talk it all later this week. But until then, I'm Steve Granado. Later.